Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I bet you haven't heard that sound in a while. Yeah, that's because we're doing a lot of video. But hey, welcome back. Welcome back to Lockdown Universe, home of the bizarre, peculiar, and unheard of stories of UFO legend and paranormal lore. Welcome back. Welcome back. Happy to be back. Hopefully, you guys are doing excellent and taking care of yourselves. We've got, this is a wild, wild time for UFO history, UFO interest, and Catholic Church is coming out now with how to engage with apparitions and ghosts and all these different entities. So we're going to get into that. But hey, before we do that, let me introduce you to a new friend I got here. We got the alien pug dog right here. Say hello, Mr. Pug Dog. Woof woof. And we've got the meditating Bigfoot as always. So I'll have to put him right there. Oh, look at that. He looks beautiful right there. So I wanted to find out a little bit more about this because this is like the wildest shit I've heard in a long time. And there's been a lot of news sources talking about this. And it's not just one. It's not like News Nation. It's not like Fox News. It's not like just CNN. It's like all of them. How to handle apparitions. So that's basically all you have to put in. And you're going to get a whole bunch of stuff pop up. And how do they decide what an apparition is? Is it just are they stating it's a ghost? Are they stating it's, an alien from another dimension? What are they really getting at here? So that's what we want to find out. So let's take a look here. So we're just going to go with a Fox News article right now that states that the Vatican is preparing guidelines for apparitions and other supernatural phenomena. This is wild shit. This just came out May 8th, so just about a week ago. And it states that the Vatican is preparing to release a document. And we know the Vatican has a lot of documents in alien technology as well as other technology, as well as tons of books underneath their facility in a library underground. We know that from Emery Smith. We know that from a whole bunch of other whistleblowers. They keep them behind these metal glass containers that nobody can really break into, and there's all kinds of people in white lab coats going up and down these diagonal escalators so they can view them and document them and do studies on them. I mean, it's like amazing what they have down there reportedly, but they must know something's up. Maybe they know a Ghostbuster type event's going to happen where all the ghosts are going to come out of the Ghostbuster cell, and then we're all going to start seeing shit. We're all going to have to freak out. Well, anyway, let's see what they have to say. So they're preparing to release a document giving guidance on how to discern supernatural phenomena. So we have to discern now. We have to figure out who is an alien, who is a ghost, who is just an apparition. Well, maybe it's demonic. We don't know. So let's take a look. The Holy See press conference announced the upcoming document will be published May 17th. So it's 3 days from now, with a live streamed press conference featuring a prefect for the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith. Wow, that's a mouthful. Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez. Fernandez had previously said that they are in the process of finalizing a new text with clear guidelines and the norms for discernment of apparitions and other phenomena. Now, a lot of people think the Catholic Church is really not into like entities, or I should say maybe apparitions, but they've always been into exorcisms, and they're still doing them to this very day. So they're qualifying an apparition referring to a divine entity. So they're not saying it's like your dead grandma. They're saying it's a divine entity such as a saint, the Virgin Mary, or Christ himself, when they make themselves known to a person on the earth. Now, see, a lot of times we're having a lot of difficulty believing in Christ showing up in the sky because of Project Bluebeam's knowledge. Well, we know that Project Bluebeam can just put out any picture they want. They could put a movie on up in the sky if they want to. They could put the Second Coming of Christ up there, right? They could put Home Alone up there. They can put The Big Short up there. Whatever they want to put, they can put. They can put whales dancing in the sky if they want to. So we're a little bit hesitant on believing that. A lot of people are anyway. But the concept of Christ or the Virgin Mary or a saint is a concept and a recurring theme in the Bible and most Christian denominations that affirm the belief that such brushes with the supernatural can still occur today with various capacities. So the Catholic Church urges extreme prudence before ascribing phenomena to a supernatural force. So they're saying, what you see, it might not be supernatural. They're warning that being too quick to attribute divine origin to explainable circumstances can damage the faith and warp beliefs. So they really, these guys are really holding on to the Christian power and the Catholic Church's power because they know they're in decline. There's not a lot of people going anymore. Alleged apparitions, according to the article, are usually documented and scrutinized by the diocese bishop's office and forwarded to Rome for further investigation. So this is going to be interesting. The last time the Vatican office released guidance on apparitions was 1978, man. Holy shit. Under Pope Paul VI. The document, which is titled Norms Regarding the Manner of Proceeding in Discernment of Presumed Apparitions or Revelations, was due to the increased influence of mass media. Well, here we are today with tons of TikTokers and tons of Facebookers and tons of Snapchatters out there talking about what they're seeing. So a lot of people are going to say, holy shit, man, we're seeing all this stuff and it's real and it's legit. And just look at the Miami Mall incident, for example. The Miami Mall incident was one of the biggest UFO stories in the last 10 years. Many people were there. Many people said they were there. Many people wrote articles. I did a podcast, few podcasts on it. And, there's a lot of people that saw things coming from another dimension. Well, some people thought that those were hellish. Some people thought that they were evil, demonic. Some people thought that they were weaving in and out of our dimension because they looked like they were juddering. Some people thought that these were some teenagers opened up a portal to another dimension. I was just listening to a podcast about Mike the Madman Markham, who was basically opening up portals to time travel in his backyard, where he took a whole bunch of transformers from like a junkyard and made this huge time travel portal. So anyway, going back to the article, the miracle of Fatima in 1917 is perhaps the most well-documented apparition in modern day. Well, it's still over 100 years ago. After an alleged series of appearances by the Virgin Mary and several peasant children that promised a public miracle, tens of thousands of people in Fatima, Portugal, claimed to witness the sun move erratically across the sky and produce radiant colors for several minutes. Okay? The Catholic Church recognized the supernatural aspect of the event in 1930. So, these guys are kind of like the go-to for the authority on what's a miracle, what's not, what's legit, what's not. What's interesting is I'm watching a show right now called Evil, and it's basically about like three people who are working for the church and who are going out and investigating like possessions. They're also investigating miracles, which is really cool. And so they're going out and they're seeing like these videos that people have of like an angel around somebody that's dying. They're investigating the potential for somebody being possessed, and apparently there's like 6 levels of possession. So there's a lot of things that they could put their effort and interest in, but they have yet to put a lot of that information out into the public, right? Right now, they're saying this is what you need to look for with apparitions. Why are they coming out with it now? That's the big question. Why are they coming out with it now since 1978? It's like almost 50 years ago. So the question is, what is happening? Well, again, it's a public knowledge increasing about what is going on in the world. And we're coming to understand that there's things that we can't explain. And the government's coming out and saying, we have aliens. Well, aliens can walk through walls. Is that an apparition? No, not according to the church, because according to the church, the only apparition that they qualify as can only be something holy, like Christ, Mary, or a saint. Well, I've always been brought up as, hey, you see an apparition, that's a ghost. That could be a dead person, that could be an evil spirit, it could be anything. It could be a jinn, in different cultures, it could be a whole bunch of things. But Some of the comments are interesting in here. If I had to have a religious-based job, I think I'd like to be an exorcist for the Vatican. There are two outcomes. There's no such either A, there's no such thing as demonic possession, and I get to be shuttled around the world first class on the church's dime, or there is such a thing, and I get to see some completely crazy stuff firsthand. It's very interesting, man. Well, I tell you, I used to work in a psych ward, and I encountered a guy that just worked in the hospital. He was not in the psych ward, just going down to get some dinner, and I was telling him, I was like, man, there's a guy up on the floor, and there's some stuff going on, and I don't know if it's, possession. I don't know what's going on. And he told me straight out. He said, let me tell you something. I know a guy, and I went to his house, and he was having a priest come to the house and basically bless the house and try to cast out whatever was going on. When he did it, I was there. And when I was there, he said things started to fly everywhere. Stuff started to fly off. The drapery started to fly off. They had the rod. They had papers, just legal papers and stuff like that, flying all over the place. They had like books falling off of shelves. They had everything. This is while the priest was there. And he said he didn't believe in it at all. He said he was just going to his friend's house to see if he could, provide him some moral support. Maybe he thought he needed to go into the psych ward. Since he already worked at the hospital, maybe, he knew something. Maybe he could help him get there. But it turned out he wasn't seeing anything that wasn't there. He was seeing something that was there, or at least was having an effect on his home. And so it's really interesting. Here's an interesting one for you. A man's car was haunted by a ghost. So he decided to go to a priest to get it removed. The priest performed an exorcism and it worked. He successfully removed the ghost from the car and said to the man, that'll be $250. The man refused to pay, so a couple weeks later his car was repossessed. Repossessed, guys. Yeah, I know, that's a joke. That's a good one. I know. I actually like that one. It's pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish up this podcast, and then I'm going to do another podcast because this is a really crazy week. We have Stephen Greer basically dropping a bomb on the UFO community. He's releasing everything he's got in his archives and giving it out to us. So we're going to review some of that stuff. The only thing is you have to log in. You have to use an email and to get in and your password, and then you have to get a code sent. Well, I'm still waiting on my code to get sent. I still don't have it. So I don't know if the site got shut down or what, but it was just started up the other day, like I think 2 days ago. So I think it's something that may only be up for a little bit of time. Obviously, the government's well aware of what's out on the internet, so I think they're going to be all over that as well. When we talk about being aware of what's real and what's not, the problem with this is I'm going to start wrapping it up here. So this is in conclusion, my perspective, my beliefs on this release of information from the Vatican. Just preliminary. This hasn't actually been released yet, but preliminarily, what they're talking about is it can only be classified as an apparition if it's holy. Well, let me ask you a question. Okay, I did a podcast on this. Maybe I can try to link it in the link below. But basically, it was a Massachusetts case. It was on the Hauntings television show. And this family moved into one of their older properties. They had a bunch of properties they were renting out, and they had to sell a bunch of property because they lost their job or whatever. And they moved back into this property. The child saw a old man in one of the bedrooms, and he said, why is that old man in there? And his parents couldn't see anything in this room. They went back several times. Every time they went back, the child was like, what's up with that old man? And then the parents said, we don't see him. The old man, the entity, started getting pissed off. Then he started to change form. Then he started to have horns, started to look like an actual evil entity, like kind of like a Satan-like entity. So you have to ask yourself, if an entity appears in front of you and it's not flesh and blood, how do you know that it's not just making itself look like an entity that it wants to make itself look like? Could it make itself look like Jesus? Could it make itself look like Mary and just be lying to you? Yes, it can. And it's happened to this kid himself and to many other people. I'm not saying that every entity you see is lying to you, but I'm saying if you're dealing with something that we don't understand, you have to be very careful, very aware, and very, very careful. And, protect yourself with a white light. Protect yourself with people that know what they're doing. Don't try to do anything stupid. Don't try to play around with fire because you're going to get burned. Stay in the light. Continue to do good deeds. Continue to be a good person. Don't try to go out and mess around with different powers and things like that because you're going to get in trouble. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little pre-enlightenment to this event that's going to happen on the 17th. It's Friday? Will be happening on Friday? Yeah. So Friday the 17th. So maybe we'll do another podcast for that. But in the meantime, I want to get out that Stephen Greer, because there's going to be probably a few podcasts. I mean, it's a huge library of stuff. So we're going to get into that. We're going to look into that and see what is available within those archives. Should be good, man. I mean, he's one of the first and foremost on UFO disclosure, and has had 2 disclosure press conferences. So it should be really good, man. All right, guys, take care of yourselves. Stay in the light and love. Follow through on your hobbies and your goals and your dreams. Take care of yourself spiritually, physically, emotionally, and as always, continue to question the universe around you. Peace. Lockdown Universe out. Go like, follow, share, subscribe. Peace.